This is the fourth staging of the big game. From East End Poker Den to West End Casino, it's been quite a transformation. We've attracted some big names, and tonight is no exception as we hit yet another milestone in the big game's remarkable journey.
The original Poker Den was played in an East End back room and was never short of drama.
Did I find the poker game?
5 people shouldn't be on this table.
This is so sick.
I must be behind.
I'm steaming.
Get up, boys.
You're still in my hand.
That's how we do it in LA. That's how we do it in London.
Ay, caramba.
That's how I play. That's the way I roll.
Everything.
The big game is now in its fourth incarnation, and as the name suggests, it's big, but it's also glitzy. Les Ambassadors Casino in London's Mayfair is its home for the next 48 hours. It's a new venue and there's a new format for the players to contemplate. Player evictions hang over this table. Every 6 hours a player will be made to leave. Player power will decide. Each player will cast one vote.
What the hell? Why would you?
That vote will cast its spell over the table, focusing our players' minds.
There's a player here for every type of poker fan, and personalities abound. Luke Schwartz, Isaac Haxton, Neil Channing, Jennifer Tilly, among others, all big names with big reputations, and all here to play the most exciting cash game in town.
The clock primed, the players poised, the cards shuffled. Time then to meet the contenders.
In seat number 1, it's Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer Tilly, Oscar-nominated actress turned poker pro. Credibility comes via World Series bracelet and a starting stack of £15,000 for the big game.
Poker is an addiction. It really is. It really takes over your life and alienates you from your friends and empties out your bank account. I love it.
In seat 2, it's Dusty Schmidt.
Leather ass. Dusty Schmidt has played over 7 million hands of poker in a 5-year career and earned over $3 million. £20,000 his cash stake as he attempts to get to grips with the big game.
I'm kind of known as like the ultimate grinder online. I've played like 8 million hands.
In seat 3, it's Isaac Haxton.
Regularly seen playing with the likes of Durr and Ivy, Isaac Haxton's one of the great students of the game. Hooked on poker from high school, he takes £20,000 to the table.
I like being able to play exactly as long as I like and quit when I want, and generally the action's faster, there's more money to be made. There's very few reasons to prefer tournaments.
In seat 4, it's Paul Marrow.
There's no hiding from Paul Marrow's dress sense, loud and flamboyant, and one of the game's great characters. £10,000 is his starting stack.
If the cards come, then we'll make it up. If the cards don't come, then we might get evicted.
In seat 5, it's Viffer.
David Pete, better known as Viffer, talks his way into the minds of many a great player and happily walks away with the cash. Tonight, he sits down with £20,000.
I'm pretty degenerate. I don't have much respect for money. That's always helps in a no-limit game.
In seat 6, it's Luke Full Flush Schwartz.
Luke Schwartz has taken on some of the biggest names online and frequently come out smelling of roses. £20,000 gets his campaign off the mark tonight.
I'm an online player. I'm used to being able to put in massive long sessions. I've gone 48-hour session without sleep before.
In seat 7, it's Neil Channing.
Former bookmaker Neil Channing has claimed the 2008 Irish Championships, as well as being a noted columnist and voice in the poker world. Never shy of voicing his opinion, he starts with £20,000.
I'd heard there were some rich Americans in town, various international stars and top poker players, and I thought, well, at least they've got some money, and if I get lucky, I might be able to win some.
And in seat 8, it's Laurence Grandin.
Laurence Grandin, a one-time criminologist, has taken a forensic approach to poker, which has paid off, and now she takes £10,000 to the big game.
I play my A game, not intimidated by the other players. I'm just really happy about how I'm playing right now.
And I'm thrilled to be watching this game with one of the brightest young minds in poker, the highly respected Justin Bonomo. Justin, what do you expect from this game?
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping for a lot of gambling. Who knows if there's going to be straddles and blind raises and whatnot. With a 48-hour game, nothing would surprise me.
Big buzz in this arena, and Paul Marrow first hand with the ace-king. Now, I mean, different from tournaments, this cash game, you can play a lot of different hands anyway before the flop, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of these players are 200 big blinds deep. There's a lot of room to get creative. I don't know what just happened, but it looked like we saw David have deuce 3, and it looked like he put some money in the pot. So someone's getting creative.
He's still got cards. Viffer is the kind of guy, people who've seen him, they would expect that he can do anything with any hand, right? That's his MO.
Yeah, I've played with him live before. I don't know if I've ever seen him play the deuce 3 offsuit, but if he's playing that, he's going to be playing a lot of hands. And it was a decent-sized raise, too. It looked like Marrow made it 4 times the big blind.
Wonder if he's going to target Marrow during this cash game. He's going to target him early, or if he just wants to show the deuce 3.
I have no idea. I mean, this is probably a flop he's going to win, to be honest. I'm guessing he's not going to give up on this one.
Marrow's checked the continuation, and then Viffer's fired a bet in, gotten called. And now all of a sudden, Viffer's got the lead in the hand, in a sense, doesn't he?
Yeah, Marrow's shown that he probably doesn't have a queen or better. And I think David's going to assume he's not tricky enough to just check and call with such a big hand.
So, talk about setting up an image for yourself. Viffer doesn't show, but he's willing to play any hand, and he could run over this table. Welcome back to the heart of London for the 4th staging of the big game.
Most people will tell you that the online players are generally tougher at any given stakes, and I'd have to agree.
Well, I mean, you talk about not having too much experience live. My understanding is that there's Dusty Schmidt in seat number 2 has only played a total of 14 hours live before. And when you compare that to what, maybe 100,000 hours online?
Yeah, that's absolutely going to be a big disadvantage for him in this game. He's not going to be as accustomed to reading players as some of his opponents will be.
I think Marrow's limped this. And, no, sorry, Marrow's made it 150, and the re-raise from Viffer.
Okay, guys, it's a £100 rebuy, unlimited rebuy.
Up to 300. We got action.
And Jennifer Tilly just called the re-raise.
I mean, in a tournament, you know, the raise, the re-raise, ace-jack is a sort of a nothing hand. Is it different in the cash game?
No, it's probably stronger in a tournament because, you know, you have equity when you're all in. But in a cash game, you know, you can be easily dominated by ace queen or ace king, and after the flop, your reverse implied odds, if you hit that ace, are pretty bad.
Re-raise to 1,500. Call.
Viffer bet.
Wow.
I think Viffer bet 500. Tilly's made it 1,500, and Marrow's called.
Yeah, this is a flop that. I mean, obviously Marrow has a straight draw. Viffer has top pair, and Jennifer, I just guess she's trying to just win a pot from Viffer, thinking he's messing around, which he kind of is.
Because if you're Viffer right now, all of a sudden the king-9, it can't beat anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going into this game with the strategy of just gambling, and if you're gambling, this can seem like a strong hand. I honestly have no idea if he thinks he has the best hand now or not.
if the turn comes a blank, can Tilly win this with a... Well, that's a great card for her.
I wish you were in it too. At least I'd have some idea where I was.
3,000.
Wow. And
that's a pretty sick bet, isn't it? What is he trying to do?
I don't know what's going on here. I think the cameras have everyone acting crazy.
Because...
Facing a difficult position.
Uh-oh.
Decision.
This is what she does right before she raises me. I've seen this before. I call.
Yeah, I know. This is like a morsel for you. My entire stack.
How tough a call is this for Jennifer? And I mean, is calling always going to be better than raising here?
I can't imagine she's going to fold. I think she has to call here. The thing is, if Viffer's bluffing, she wants to just call and then call the river, so raising doesn't really accomplish that much if he is bluffing.
But Marrow looks like he has a draw. Could be a straight draw, could be a heart draw.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of strength this hand. She can't be that confident she has the best hand here.
Marrow's in the tank here, and I mean, I wonder if he's considering a raise, because really a fold right now would be... That would be wrong, wouldn't it?
More or less. I mean, he does have straight draw, which, you know, has 8 outs. However, if you think someone has a heart draw, then it's only 6 outs. In that case, a fold wouldn't be that bad. But yeah, I agree with you. I'd certainly be inclined to call if I was him.
And also because of the strength, it's sort of a disguise draw. So, I mean, he hits the deuce, he hits the 7. You got to feel like there's implied odds that he can get paid off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even if the 7 doesn't give him the nuts, for all intents and purposes, it really is the nuts.
Wow, and you know what? If it comes a deuce or 7, Marrow is going to hit the floor jaw first. But this river, and in your mind, do you think Viffer's going to commit himself to an all-in?
It's tough to... Oh, yeah, he instantly said all in. He liked that hard on the river. Thought it was the perfect card to bluff.
Then you could slow down on the river.
If there wasn't a river, there'd be no fish.
What is Viffer's range right now?
I'm not a very good swimmer.
But I float.
See, when you're 400 pounds of it's getting hot
He's
here.
not really representing that much. I mean,
how much do
he
I have
could have
left?
gotten goofy with a set by just calling the flop, but probably not.
Not flush draw?
1, 2,
Would he really lead the turn after hitting that ace with the ace of hearts and another
4,
heart in his hand?
5. Oh, I have more than I thought.
He could.
I should have gone all in on the turn. 1.
Well, she's saying she should have gone all in the turn. I mean, obviously, it would have avoided this difficult decision, which was probably always coming, to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's a lose-lose situation. I fold, I look like an idiot. I call, and then I don't have the winning hand, and I look like an idiot.
If you think Viffer's bluffing the turn, you really have to call the river, even if the heart gets there.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's ever going to play 10-9 of hearts like this. It doesn't really make sense to bet call the flop and then lead again on the turn.
So what's the overriding factor in Jennifer's decision here? What should it be right now?
Honestly, I think she's correctly concerned with, you know, how crazy a player Viffer can be, and that he's just going to be playing a lot of hands at the start looking to bluff her off, and if that's her reach, she might make the hero call here.
So you have a flush, Viffer?
This is definitely one of those situations where the psychology behind it's a little interesting because
truth,
these
and I don't
players
wanna lie to you.
just sat down.
Actually, here's what I'll do, Jen. I'll tell you the God's honest truth.
Uh-huh.
If you call, I'll show you the nuts, and
Right.
if you fold, I'll show you a bluff.
Really? If I fold, you'll show me a bluff?
And if you call, I'll show you the nuts.
Get that one in.
Oh, no.
What's that?
Has he given himself away?
Oh, yes.
He has? Has he hung himself?
I think he has. She caught on. She asked him, if I fold, you'll show me a bluff. And then he was like afraid from that, and he had to clarify. But also, if you call, I'll show you the nuts.
I have 10-7-5.
This is massive. She's just sat down with 15,000 pounds, and he's put her to the test hand number 2.
I think she's going to call. I really think she's going to call here.
Come on, Jennifer.
10,175.
Right, because if he didn't have a flush, he could never go all in, because she could have had a flush, right?
Yeah, but he'd have to think a flush was good.
That I'm frightened of him.
I mean, you can't just check a flush after hitting that river card for sure.
Right, no, I'm saying if he had anything besides a flush, he could not move in on the river.
Oh, right. Even a set, you can't really bet for value.
She's past it. She's past it. And he's going to show her.
Oh, he's showing just the 9.
It's a bluff.
Wow. Yeah, because she could beat
All
anything.
right, reload.
You could always see 1.
What? Thank you.
If it makes you feel any better though, Jim, I only bluff good players, and I would never try to bluff anybody else at this table, so.
Oh, that was a needle.
To stroke their ego. I'm so mad now. I'm on tilt and it's only the 4th hand.
The 3rd hand, that's even worse.
What?
What did you have?
This game's gotten off to a great start.
Drinking water.
I gotta be honest, I was really rooting for David to lose that hand because I think if he did, the action would just be off the hook.
Definitely not.
She might have had like queen. You maybe had king queen.
I should have raised all in on the turn. But you know, Phil gives me poker lessons in between having sex, and one of the things he says, small hands, small pots. I was trying to keep the pot small.
And Justin, already an indication that this game might have slightly better action than the typical 25-50 game online?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. I think we're going to see some very crazy things.
Now,
and Viffer just opened with a minimum raise with ace-king. I think his plan is just to get as tricky as possible and confuse his opponents.
I should have gone all in on the turn. That's what I should have done. I raise. How much is it?
Oh, wow. There's no way this hand won't have a ton of action in it.
100 raise here, call to south.
It's 4?
No. 25, 50 blinds, raised to 100,
And-
called 100. Okay,
I make it 6.
yeah, she should always be re-raising here because it'll look steamy, right?
There's a little bit of that, and also there's no way she thinks David has ace-king. I mean, Viffer can have anything here.
Right.
We've already seen him put money in the pot with deuce-3 offsuit, so there just can't be anything you won't have.
And
just say
you're not usually looking to stack off with ace-king for 10 grand and this sort of thing, but, I mean, Viffer might decide he wants to, really, right?
Oh, yeah, I think there's a very good chance Viffer will make a re-raise here. Although I do know he likes to play after the flop. But now with Marrow calling, he can't expect Marrow to possibly have him beat. Wow.
And those yellow chips, 1,000 pounds apiece.
13,100.
Kind of got a feel for Jennifer. She has had no time to settle into this game. The cards are playing themselves.
How many times can you have 9, 7 offsuit?
Suited. Or double suited.
I'm all in.
Go on,
There we
Jennifer.
go.
Well, I'm all in if I call him. Oh, I thought I'd go all in and it would make you fold, but I'm just calling. Ah. All right. There we go.
That'll get Marrow out. We've got a race here, and tell you what, is there anyone out there who doesn't want to see these jacks hold?
Oh, I would love it if Viffer just had to rebuy after winning that big pot the second hand.
Well,
Tails.
he's not all in. He's got about 13 grand back, but look at this pot.
Small.
24.
Girl power.
Even with 13 grand back, though, I think he'd rebuy up to 20.
Yep.
It's early yet. I could probably catch a late show.
I just think the more money we see Viffer put on the table, the more action we'll see from everyone.
This game is so big.
15. I started with 15.
There's the jack.
I'm a genius. Oh, I killed a Viffer monster. That's right. Tiny. I'm talking about cards. Yes.
Jen, you weren't supposed to tell anybody about it.
It's nice to see a gracious winner that completely masks her emotion. You can barely tell that she's happy at all.
Talk about stone face. You know, and I have to say, I'm not really rooting against Viffer, but he takes this well, and it's just about being good for the game. This is going to be so much fun now.
We are certainly going to see a lot of gambling from here on out.
All right.
You kind of have to admire Viffer, Justin. I mean, everything, obviously it hasn't worked out perfect, but it sort of has. He played like a crazy man, got a big bluff through, and then managed to get it all in with the ace-king. You know what I mean? He's got these guys completely off balance.
That's usually what happens.
You know, if Viffer had come here and said, look, this first 20,000 pounds is only for advertising because at some point these stacks are going to be 100,000 deep. Is is that got some legitimacy to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes that can work. The problem is that he has smart opponents at these tables, and they'll catch on. They know he's not just trying to give away hundreds of thousands of dollars. They know he wants to win.
Pass.
Bound to show that in the highlight show.
Pass. Re-raise to 300 total.
Well, Viffer hasn't missed a flop yet, and you were mentioning about Luke Schwartz having a good seat. To me, he is the kind of guy that at some point is going to make a play on Viffer, just based on his action.
Yeah, I would certainly expect to see some big pots between Luke and Viffer. One thing that's interesting is Viffer's playing every hand, yet people are still opening for only 3 times the big blind. I think if I was in this lineup, I would be making some big raises and seeing if Viffer really still wants to play.
Yeah, Jen opened this for 150. Viffer made it 300. Schwartz called, and now Luke's leading here. Do you like this play?
Yeah, it's definitely a good flop for him to lead. He has a pair, he has a straight draw, and you know, if he just checks, I might get checked through. And the problem is if it gets checked through, any overcard is basically bad news for you, except for, of course, the 10.
250.
Unfortunately, Viffer has a slightly better hand than him, and he might be in some trouble here.
Check.
Nice turn for Viffer.
50. Call.
And he did he min bet that for 50 pounds? It's got me very confused. Wonder what Luke's thinking.
Luke quickly checks, and
9,000.
this is a tough spot for Luke. Like, sure, you don't have a very strong hand, but Viffer's been playing crazy, and his 9,000 bets can't mean everything. His 9,000 bets can't mean he has the nuts every hand. But for all intents and purposes, he basically does this hand.
Once Luke checked the turn, wasn't he pretty much saying that he wasn't going to call any big bets without hitting?
With his hand, I would guess that's his game plan. I mean, there are 3 overcards. It's just simply too likely he's beat.
Well, Viffer takes that one down. He's trying. Luke didn't bite that time. Welcome back to the big game. 8 players starting out, one of the biggest cash games in town. Among them, Jennifer Tilly, who's surviving with a profit to show, but it's Viffer who's wreaking havoc on this table.
Well, it's obviously a little crazy there with Viffer in there.
I picked up some hands. I bluffed some good spots. I don't.
The table was kind of crazy with Viffer going crazy on every hand, but it's all right.
Viffer, the man to watch, certainly the most aggressive around this table. Joining me in commentary, Justin Bonomo.
Welcome to poker.
And this is going to be a good spot for Marrow.
Raise to 150.
You know, usually the minimum raise would be, but here sometimes it's double the previous bet.
Oh, and it looks like Viffer has indeed come in with a minimum re-raise, or a double re-raise, I should say, not the minimum technically. Which has to be good news for Paul, as he's sitting there with 2 aces, seeing a lot of action behind him.
Right, and because Paul has called every time Viffer's re-raised, would a... Oh my gosh.
Well, this is really interesting. I was thinking it's kind of bad news for Paul because we've seen him just call a lot and not really raise. So it's unlikely that he's going to get much action when he finally does raise for the first time. However, Jennifer waking up with queens, this is going to be an action hand.
And she's put 2,000 in. Marrow's only about 7 grand deep. The money just can't not go in, can it?
Yeah, I think we might see an all-in here from Paul, but to be honest, I think if I was in his seat, I would just call.
All in. Re-raise, all in.
I mean, he may have been influenced by the fact that he's only got 5 grand back after he puts the 2 in, Justin, I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
From my perspective, I just think this re-raise looks so scary coming from Paul that I would be inclined to slow play here.
Right.
But Jennifer does have a monster hand, so it might work out.
Let's see.
She called.
Yeah. Okay. 2, 3, 4. 4 5s. 4,650.
Was this a cooler as far as Tilly is concerned so far?
It's tough to say because on one hand, so much crazy stuff in this game has been going on already.
Right.
On the other hand, none of it's been from Paul.
Right.
So it depends if she thinks he's trying to get crazy and play along with the other players, or if he really is just a tight player.
Lovely, that's perfect.
She's probably hoping to be racing here and has a far-fetched hope he has jacks. As it turns out, it's the bad scenario.
You're in bad shape. I had the other 2 queens.
I think you did not. Really? I don't think I'm in bad shape. I think I'm 30%. You had 1 ace, 1 queen. You're not supposed to do that. You know, it's bad protocol because the only thing I have at this point is hope, and you're taking my hope away from me.
You took my
No,
money
but that's
away.
bad. Yeah, but hope is
You only
worse.
think I haven't listened. I'm
Yeah,
fat,
you've got
I'm
plenty.
ugly. The
You
only
have
thing I
plenty of
in life
money.
is money.
I have very little hope. What?
I guarantee you one thing, Viffer is loving being here right now.
Black, 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 black.
He doesn't even know who he's rooting for. He's just thinking, how much money am I going to win tonight?
Well, see, I would.
It's interesting. We have 100,000 pounds on the table, more actually, and these players don't care. They're just chatting, having fun, being themselves. I love it.
Oh, would you have hit your set there, Viffer?
Yeah, Jennifer's taking this well. So she's still going to have about her starting stack back. But Paul Marrow.
Oh, would you
You
have
know
hit
that's all
your?
me, though.
You had a 5-6 offsuit. You would have hit 2 pair. Nice hand, Paul. Okay.
Very nearly up to where he
The
started.
Lord taketh away.
So Marrow started with 10,000. He's up to 14 now. And tell you, look at this table, you think there hasn't been much action. That hasn't been the case.
Raise to 325. Pass. Pass. Re-raise to 1,200, 1,200. Pass. Pass.
Jeez, oh my gosh. How, this is not fair. He's picked up the aces second time, and they're the case aces.
Jennifer has had a rough start so far. She's not even down much money, but she has been in some rough situations,
She
and
really
it's
has.
not going to stop.
Is how difficult is this hand to play for her right now?
Pass.
The one thing that works to her advantage is the only big raise we've seen from Paul is when he had aces. The only time we've seen a big raise from Paul is when he had aces.
But it's only 11 hands.
That's true. It is really early.
Call.
And she makes the call. We're going to see a flop.
This is one of the toughest things about loose cash games, isn't it, Justin? That there's a difference between the illusion of action and the big money.
Yeah, absolutely. After 10 hours, you know, people have settled down. You kind of know what their default game plan is. But Jennifer and Paul don't really know each other. They really have to be able to expect anything.
She has had nothing but tough decisions and or sort of very playable hands since she started.
I need more money. Am I going to be the first person to do a rebuy?
And without hesitation, Paul moved all in here, and Jennifer correctly folded her hand.
Nice hand.
Well, it's only been a dozen hands, Justin. What do you make? Does this tell the story, this leaderboard?
No, it does not. It makes it look like we've seen one big pot so far between Paul and Jennifer, and every single hand has been something insane. I'm kind of speechless, to be honest.
Back into the action. And Justin, I know it's still very early, but if you're just starting to talk about what these players are sort of setting out to do, right now to me, Dustin Schmidt, Isaac, and Neil Channing, they're looking quite sharky. You know, we're gonna trap these guys with big cards in a big hand.
I agree with you for the most part, but I don't think anyone expects that that's going to continue for Isaac. He has a really loose reputation. But I agree that Dusty and Neil are probably just setting in for the long haul, probably won't be playing too many hands.
I got the colors wrong. I meant to bet 9,000.
Nice needle at Viffer there.
Neil's actually he would be sort of a 48-hour cash game specialist. You know, I think his half of the seats in the Victoria Club in London have his indentation on the on them. And Dusty Schmidt seems like that kind of guy too.
Raise. Up to 800. Fold.
Lawrence has raised. There was a limp from Channing, a raise from Lawrence, the re-raise from Dusty. What is this in reaction to?
I keep saying this, but again, this just has to be another image play. He must know that people think he's a tight player, and he wants to kind of change that.
Cold call from Marrow for 800 pounds, which Dusty's not going to be happy about at all. It's kind of like you make an image play, and then somebody calls you, and you think, weren't you watching? Did you see what I just did?
Yeah, but you can say the same thing right back at Dusty. Weren't you watching? Weren't you seeing how Paul Marrow's been playing?
Is Lawrence someone who you already want to isolate when she re-raises pre-flop?
No, I mean, she's been playing fine. Like, she hasn't been getting out of line. Although, wow, a re-raise over the top with ace-queen. This is a strong, strong move for ace-queen.
It really is. What's the gig?
I'm just so confused. I kind of want to give up on making guesses as to what's going to happen because I just have no idea what's going on.
It's only 13 hands in, and you're starting to feel as foolish as me.
I mean, I think I guessed one hand right. I don't even know.
But clearly, these stacks aren't deep enough for Marrow to be calling to try and hit a big flop, are they?
I mean, he's reaching for chips.
You know what I'm saying, though? It's like if they were 100,000 deep, is it right?
I absolutely know what you're saying, but
but the math is not there for this hand, is it?
No. I'm baffled. I can't say anything. I'm baffled.
Oh my gosh.
Could it be possible to have a more action flop than this one? This is crazy.
And it's a flip. If the money goes in now, it's basically a flip, right?
Yeah. And I can't see how the money's not going in. They both flopped huge, huge hands on this board.
Well, Lawrence is only $7,000 deep, which is there's $7,000 in this pot. So effectively, does she have a? You know, is this a bet to induce a shove, or was shoving the better play? Actually, it doesn't really matter, does it?
I mean, in this situation, the money's going all in. I think no matter what. Oh wow! And Paul just calls.
Which is actually even weirder, because if she does have like some sort of random ace-king, you'd almost rather raise there, wouldn't you?
Right, or if she's jacks or tens, you know, she might fold, and it's a miracle if that happens. Oh, and now he has a gut shot to go along with his flush draw and pair.
And Lawrence Grandin, early up, she's all in. That turn card has actually made her favorite. Not a solid one, but a favorite.
With so much money in the pot and such a small bet, there's no way Paul can fold here.
Would you like to commit to that statement?
Absolutely not. There's not much I'd like to commit to at this point in time.
Except to your name on the list. This is great. But I mean, there's no hand that Paul doesn't have the odds to draw to. Even if she's got 3 queens, he's...
Oh, of course. If she had 3 queens face up, you'd have to call. Absolutely.
3-8-25.
And I got to be honest, the fact that he hasn't just immediately called must show that he's not that experienced, doesn't really know the math.
Well, he is mostly a tournament player from what I know, Paul Marrow, but when these get turned over, Lawrence Grandin is going to have to sweat one. This is a big pot. This is a big pot for her, 20 grand in here.
Yeah, and she's only a slight favorite here.
And could it be an early bath for Lawrence?
She does not look optimistic about this one.
She's thinking to herself right now, what more could I have done here? I re-raised, I 4-bet to 3 grand before the flop. And that is a good blank for Lawrence Grandin.
Wow, and she breathes a sigh of relief there.
She's well used to playing for pretty large stakes online, but looking at her face there, you do get the feeling that she was sweating that one heavy.
Yeah, I mean, if she's used to playing 5-10 US dollars, this is a much bigger game for her. This is a lot of money.
I didn't look.
You didn't look? That's what you said the last time when you had ace king.
Not believe him. Good luck.
What?
He said he looked at one that time.
He said he looked at one. He didn't look at one.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
If he looked at one and it was the ace and he didn't look at the other one, it would be a 3. That's the way it works in poker land. I just wasted 400 pounds. That's a pair of shoes.
150. Raise up to 300.
It's like 20 pairs.
So much you've ever spent on a shoe.
Well, Marrow's raised and Viffer has re-raised a pair of shoes, as Jennifer Tilly just said. Sort of this meta game. Viffer has re-raised over half of Marrow's openings. Do you have to, if you're Marrow, you actually have to start mixing in some 4-bets or not?
I would. The way Viffer's been playing, I mean, he can just have anything. If you have ace-queen, build a pot, occasionally throw in some bluffs in there. I think it's actually a smart move on Viffer. He's been isolating one of the weaker players at the table. And I think it's going to go well for him.
2,300.
2,300?
Ay, ay, ay. And this raise that Marrow made, wow, I was going to say, was actually representing a stronger hand than Viffer had.
And Paul's not hesitating. He thinks he has the nuts with the top pair.
This is what Viffer has been playing for all night, Justin.
Absolutely.
And what happened to Marrow? He's just gotten sort of lured into thinking that Viffer is a bit crazier than he is.
Yeah, I can't really blame Paul for this. The way Viffer's been playing, you might just think he can have anything here, and he certainly can.
A jack would split the pot. I think that's it. That's a full house. And Marrow is going to be down his first buy-in.
Yeah, this has been Viffer's goal all along. Finally flops a monster. He's lucky enough that an opponent has top pair. All the money goes in. I don't think we'll see many people folding top pair to Viffer.
Right. And from Marrow's point of view, he was only $5,000 deep in that hand. He's going to go for another 5. First top up, first rebuy of the game, and the Dice Man's had it rough. Welcome back to the big game from Les Ambassadors Casino in London. 8 players fighting for the cash. Early days, but Paul Marrow, the man feeling the pressure, having lost 2 big pots against Grandin and Viffer. Viffer by far the most aggressive player, which should keep him clear of the eviction nominations that we can expect later on tonight. One of the things Paul Marrow might be thinking is, this game's going 48 hours. Maybe I'll just take a little break and come back in 12 or 20 hours and see what these guys are up to. Which in a long game, Justin, is you sleep on them. It's a great thing to do sometimes.
Yeah, that's certainly a great strategy. If you're playing in a game with 8 players, 5 of them have been playing all night and you're well rested, you're at an advantage.
Raise to 225.
Well, Neil Channing has limped here, and the raise on the button from Haxton. The question is, will Channing call or re-raise? Oh. There's another question first.
Good.
Okay, re-raise 650.
Channing is not the kind of guy you would expect to get more than 10 grand in with ace-king pre-flop in a cash game.
Although against Viffer, all bets are off. But yeah, here he just calls, tries to see a flop.
Me? Yeah. My best guess would be 12,000.
Okay, yeah, that's all I need.
And Isaac might have done one thing against the Viffer re-raise. What is he thinking now? How does Channing complicate matters? Is he putting ace-king in Channing's ballpark?
I think so. I think Channing can easily limp with a hand like ace-queen, ace-king, maybe 10s or jacks and call that re-raise. I think those are all hands that Isaac will be thinking he can have. Other pairs as well.
3 ways, 2 grand. Viffer on the steam, and what a perfect flop for Haxton. Yikes!
Although with all that action pre-flop, he will have to be a little bit worried that someone has an overpair.
Viffer, you're saying, or Haxton?
Haxton has to be worried about that. Although the fact that it checked to him is really good news for him.
1,400.
And this is sort of a real demarcation line from Viffer, where I think we find out, is he on tilt or is he thinking? Because, and I mean, he knows well that Channing could have had him smash pre-flop and Haxton.
Absolutely. I think Viffer might be a little overly concerned with his hand. He might be thinking, with how loose I'm playing 8s as a monster. And he might not be thinking enough about the fact that Isaac probably hasn't beat if he re-raised pre-flop. Or sorry, if he raised pre-flop and then bet this flop.
He is now representing a much stronger hand than 8s, though, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course he's representing bluffs, too, the way he's been playing. My guess is Isaac will not be folding this one.
He has gone for the call, and the funny thing is that if Viffer's got kind of polarized range, 8s doesn't really fall into it, does it? You know what I mean?
Right, it'll be interesting to see if the turn's like a deuce or a 3, what Viffer's thinking. It's entirely possible he thinks he has the best hand here. I imagine he knows he's bluffing at this point, but I'm not positive on that.
Well, 3 options. Go all in, check fold, check call. Ooh, check call's not so good.
I don't imagine he's going to be check calling. I think, especially after that queen comes, I think he knows he's not betting for value. So I think it's either move all in or give up. Although if Isaac checks, there will be a lot of rivers that might look like scary cards that Viffer can bluff. But the problem is it works the other way, too. He might get bluffed on the river, or he might get sucked out on the river.
And, I mean, isn't this the funny thing about playing against a guy like Viffer? As much as you want to say to yourself, I'm going to wait for the nuts and trap him, so often it's making tough decisions in marginal spots, and that's what you have to do.
All right.
Right.
All right, I'm going to need a count.
And, wow, well, he's chosen to go big.
That's good news.
2-5 for 2-5.
Indeed.
I imagine Viffer is surprised that Isaac has not acted instantly. I think, you know, you were talking about earlier, has he given away the strength of his hand by, you know, acting and talking and all that stuff. I think he expected that Isaac either had a monster or had nothing, and it's really interesting with the table talk. Like, they've both kind of given away a little information about their hand. Like, Viffer truly showed he had a tough decision here, and I don't think it was an acting job.
And yet, also, both players might be convincing themselves that the guys are playing them.
And how much more is that right there? Like a couple hundred more?
Can I keep the cab fare?
Raise all in.
No!
No.
Why you gotta raise me? I just didn't want to show my hand. You got 2 jacks. I mean, I'm obviously calling, but.
Okay. Cool.
I've got ace-9. Do you really have 10s?
No.
I think Isaac actually.
Slow rolled.
Well,
I went slow rolled.
I don't know if he showed a little. You know, they should have negotiated the deal before they turned their hands over.
Yeah, it's kind of funny the way it went. Isaac was afraid he was getting slow rolled. Viffer was afraid he was getting slow rolled, and Viffer probably feels like he did get slow rolled there.
Well,
Yeah.
big pot going Isaac Haxton's way, and I'm guessing Viffer is gonna signal with his right hand for the rebuy. What do you think of these profit and loss now? Grandin and Haxton way ahead, and we're starting to see some numbers in red.
Yeah, it isn't surprising that Viffer's the big loser given the way he's been playing. I'll say it again, though, he could easily be the big winner by the end of the night.
I guess if you had to pick a man who was not going to be sort of blown off by losing 20 grand quickly, it was Viffer.
Oh, sir.
It's interesting. I mean, would you cross-book him in this game?
I have no idea if I would expect Viffer to win money or not in this game. I just honestly have no idea.
You'd sort of say, get back to me in 3 hours.
Normally I'm pretty quick to judge just about any player at the table. I'd give you a clear answer, but with Viffer, I have no idea. I don't know. I honestly just don't know what level he's thinking on. He's certainly capable of winning or losing a lot of money. I'm honestly not that sure how good he actually is.
And probably one of the reasons to assume that he could be winning in this game is because it's usually good to be sort of the guy doing the opposite of everyone else, right?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did Paul just move all in for 10,000 straight?
Basically, he's opened this pot from the button, Marrow, to 200. Viffer's re-raised from the small blind to 1,025. And now Marrow shoved all in. I mean, this is big. And look at Viffer. He did not expect this. But what's he going to do?
I call.
And Viffer calls. Here's some action.
And Marrow's playing this cash game like a tournament. And you know what? I mean, uh-oh, bad news for Marrow.
Seven from heaven.
That's exactly what he needs. The dice man. Down and done. And I think he's going to take a break from this game, Justin.
And you too. Thank you very much.
May be back later, but Paul Marrow saying, you guys play for a little while with my money, and I'll stay in touch.
Obviously, just busted out, but the cards didn't do it for me, and that's the way it goes.
3 hours have been played, and there's been no shortage of drama and no less excitement. Paul Marrow was the first to fall, with Robert Williamson III taking up the challenge, and there's still 45 hours to go in the Party Poker Big Game.
Marrow bruised, battered, and out. Grandin climbing up the leaderboard, Viffer hounding this table. Next time in the big game, the arrival of Robert Williamson III in the Party Poker Big Game.
Cash. The big game, the big draw is that I get a chance to take all their money. So simply put, I'm here for the money.